So, welcome to today's ERP implementation webinar. Today we will look into what the business technology standard can teach us and advise us related to ERP implementation. We will record this webinar and the webinar will be also shared with all the participants after. First, I will share a few words about the Business Technology Forum in general and what the Business Technology Standard is about. So this is a community that has been founded over 10 years ago, and it is a co-creative, cross-organizational and cross-organizational. So we co-develop the model continuously with different organizations from public and private sectors. Dozens of Nordic organizations have been involved in the development since the first launch, and all the community experiences are then shared back to the community. The model has also been verified by the academia. So King's College London and Aalto University in Finland have also been part of our development partners. All the material is open source, and Business Technology Forum is a not-for-profit organization. For us, it is very important that this model is really evergreen. So at the same time we learn something, we deploy it, and then we share all the learnings with all the community. So this makes the model really evergreen. It doesn't grow dust, so to say. There are two different ways of deploying anything that is discovered in the BT standard. So it is completely ready for a self-deployment. All the material can be found at managebt.org, or then there is the possibility for an assisted deployment with any of our certified implementation partners, such as Sofigate in the Nordics or Xonetic in the UK and Ireland. Most of the community news we are sharing all the time via LinkedIn, so it is a good idea to click follow in LinkedIn to get all the most recent community news directly to your LinkedIn feed. There are different ways of engaging with the community. So on the left-hand side, we can just see that all the material is available at managebt.org. And as a newest addition, we are also sharing now a preview of the extension materials. So those are really deep diving expertise materials that we are now also sharing with the community. I can show you later on where exactly those are located on the website. Then we share also a variety of posters that help, for example, to follow up a dialogue at your own organization, or then to identify which of these areas could be most important for you or for your organization currently to develop. And then we organize training courses related to those in Malaga. With those training courses, the participants also access the full material library, so not just the preview, but really editable materials. It is also possible to join a co-creational program with the Business Technology Forum, and those examples are, for example, EU programs, or then specific programs with the public or private sector organizations. I will share a brief categorization of the training materials that we have available, or the training courses. So the Business Technology Standard Green Card is free for anyone, so that can be requested just by emailing us at info@btforum.org. Then the Business Technology Standard Practitioner courses are organized in Malaga, and those then provide you access and certification related to the specific topic. And then there are also designer courses followed by the practitioner courses on different topics such as business technology operating model, data governance, end-to-end development, or service governance. And these then also provide you access to the relevant extension materials in PowerPoint format, whereas on our website, we have now launched them as a preview. Welcome to those of you as well who made it now to this webinar. Unfortunately, we did have a link sharing problem, so there was a bit of a hassle, but this will all be recorded, and we are just now then diving into the actual substance topic for today after the short introduction. So next, Menno Huiven, Senior Executive from BT Forum, will be sharing us a more detailed deep dive into the ERP industry adaptation. So Menno, please, I will let you take over the share at this point.
Yeah, thank you, Lotta. Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, sorry about the link hassle. We had a lot of people participating or announcing that they would participate, but hopefully they watched the video afterwards. So I do my best to explain it and answer the questions we got beforehand. So let me share my screen to introduce. I hope you can.
Yes, that was it.
See my screen. All right, and I still check the chat also open if somebody wants to ask something. So let me introduce the ERP implementation model we have been creating, and I'm happy to do so. It was a nice work activity. I'm going to give you an overview on the structure of the whole document, how it's built, and show a few highlights. I cannot go in all the details, but like Lotta said, on our website, you can now check the preview version and there check it out, all the slides in your own time. We have the different extensions we have in the BT standard. We call those the extensions, like the data governance and the end-to-end development and those. But we have branded now this material, like the ERP implementation model, we have branded them as so-called industry adaptations. So this is one of them. Another one we have published already, which is actually also a very nice topic, is this human-centered development of well-being and vitality in cities. That's what we also call an industry adaptation. And there is still one in the pipeline, which we call business acceleration with no low-code platforms. Hopefully, end of August, September timeframe, we will announce that one. So we call this industry adaptations, kind of to make the difference that this is really applying the business technology standard and the operating model to a specific topic, rather than going deeper in like the extensions do on a specific governance or management area. So this one has been developed also. We have been talking with SAP, Sovicate, and several of our partner organizations to come up with the content for this. I show you the content. We have 6 major topics. We introduce a big picture, a framework, explain about the program management itself and how to do that. A very important topic is the whole transformation and people engagement related to an ERP business transformation. Some more guidelines on the typical roles used in the program. And then we have an appendix where in this case, we took SAP as an example. SAP has its own implementation methodology, Activate, and we show a bit how to encapsulate or how to use the business technology standard to manage also something like the SAP Activate model. Probably there are going to be more of those appendices. We might also do one still with Microsoft Dynamics 365. But for now, this is the first one we have released. So I go a bit further still in the introduction part before going to the big picture. So this is how the guidebook is. The main 3 themes is there. This big picture slides showing the business and technology interfaces, the infinite loop, the implementation framework, and then the people engagement. But I will go through each of those in a bit more depth. So let's go to the big picture. We have picked up ERP programs because they represent quite large strategic must-win activities for an organization, and they typically provides also the chance to really gain a new competitive edge with your company, to really make a change. Or it can also be a catastrophic failure in some cases if you really mess up the whole ERP program. So they have quite a chance to go very well, or there's also the chance to fail with them. And there is an important message which we make, that really the business, the organization should really take ownership of the ERP design and the program. And it's not something you can just outsource to a crowd of consultants to do the thinking for you. So really the message also in this document is that the business should really own this, be part of the design process and lead that, rather than delegate it to consultants. To help also the communication, what the whole thing is about, we came up with this picture. Somebody says it's the Batman spectacles, but I don't know. But it kind of demonstrates the from which direction an ERP business transformation can come. So it can be kind of business initiated, that there are really clear objectives. We want to become more data leadership focused, or we have new designs for our business. And from that, you follow the red arrow and you go more to the disruptive type of developing the new business capabilities. And you get into transformation thing. Or you come from the other direction, quite typical that the ERP platform is end of life, it needs to be renewed, or a major update needs to be done. So there might be more a kind of continuous perfecting, improving the operations things, the technology management, in order that you come from the technology initiated part. But this is a picture to help also the dialogue with the business organization to position it, what is exactly that we are doing. Also in terms of an SAP project, it might be also talking about, are we now talking a greenfield type of implementation where we do everything new, start with a clean sheet. So that's definitely business initiated, or are we just kind of improving, building on what we have already, kind of the more brownfield approach. We also use this picture to kind of emphasize the importance of having the business technology operating model in place to build on top of that your business transformation capabilities. So this also kind of illustrates the kind of the plan, build, run structure on top of which this all is happening. And highlighted are also the extension material we have that help you address those areas. Like the data leadership, we have an whole extension on how to do data governance. Or with the business design, we have also the human-centered planning, etc. And the portfolio end-to-end development management extensions you can also find. So this kind of shows the overview and also relates how the business technology standards and operating model supports ERP business transformations. I want also to stress that this document is not as such a standalone that you can just use for an ERP transformation. It kind of assumes that you are familiar with the BT operating model and also the extension. So it's important to see those in context. The second chapter is then about an implementation framework we came up with. All ERP solution providers like SAP and Microsoft and all, they come up with their own packages on how to do it. But we came up with a bit more holistic, generic model, which can also help to communicate with the organization and the business that what exactly is going to happen, and also to position your activities there. So the framework shows the major topics. You have to take care of the people and the competences that need to be developed. Make sure that the business is ready for the whole change. And when the thing is up and running, it's also a matter of having something about optimization in place. Then the framework builds on those blocks. So the whole preparation activities of a transformation, then the actual development of the solution, the rollout, business value realization, and then in parallel, of course, building the whole operational readiness and to phase out legacy systems and to run up the new solution and have the whole support structures in place. Horizontally are then the business, the technology, and data is very important topics that also should be taken care of. So this material goes then a bit deeper in each of those areas. I'm going to show a few examples that you have a feel of what is all being discussed there. You can check for yourself then later in the preview material the more details. But I take one example. That's now the transformation preparation. So you can see here the reading guides. Where are we? It gives some general statements on what is important for a transformation preparation. And it gives you a checklist items to think about. So in that phase, what should happen? Surely there should be some mission in place. There should be awareness of what we're going to do. It should be communicated, etc. So we have here a list of key topics to really adjust that should be addressed during the transformation preparation phase. We give you also some more examples of what is then really important and also cater back to our extension material. For example, with the transformation preparation, it's very important to also get the right operational governance structures in place. So we strongly suggest to take this value stream governance approach in use. Our last month's seminar was about value streams, so there you can also recheck on what they are exactly about. We have also this data pointing out as very, very important. Getting data governance in place before you even start an ERP governance or an ERP transformation is very important, because it becomes very, very challenging to within the project start to look for data owners and what have you. So it's also very good to have this type of governance models in place before you even start with your ERP transformation. We also point out the key roles. You know, the business technology standards lists plenty of roles. I think in total 70, but we want to highlight here the key roles that should take part in, for example, now this transformation preparation phase. So the last topic then for each of those boxes is also kind of looking back at what are the best standard practices to address the checklist here. So it refers back to the possible extensions material where you can find more detail. But it also points out that some, sorry, it goes again with the mouse wrong, sorry about that. It points out that that you can also use the ERP brand specific practice material to do certain topics. So we're not trying we're trying to not replace those, but kind of that you interlink with also the ERP brand specific practices to do areas. So this gives you some guidelines on what should happen during the different phases. I show one more example that's about the rollout and business value realization. That's with ERP projects always very, very important to think about how to do it. Do you go for a phased rollout, or do you go with some features at a time, or is it going to be a big bang? So we have there also some more explanations on how to do it and some advice. I want to show one example we did together with one of our partner organizations, that they were using this type of go-live readiness checklist, which you can use in order to really create some transparency that is everything in place to go live now. Are all the aspects done or not? I think this is a very important part, because typically what I've seen with ERP programs is that there is the kind of desire to go with a big bang, but then the critical moment comes closer and closer, and then it becomes kind of a negotiation. Do we now take everything in use or only a little bit? And then it's good to have some transparency on what is exactly ready and what not, and what business risks do we accept or which not. So that's about the go-live readiness checklist.
And is this meant also, like we discussed in the beginning of this webinar about the extension materials and the industry adaptations, is this checklist, for example, also included there?
Yes, you can find it there. Yes, correct.
Good. So let's have a look at that later also, where you can locate these on our website.
Yeah. I already mentioned, and like the data viewpoint, I want also to stress that one, because that's a typical bottleneck in ERP programs. There is always huge amount of data migration activities, data cleaning. It might be that your ERP provider just gives you a set of templates and please fill them in, and then we upload them. And then it becomes kind of a bit of a scramble on how to do it. So this data viewpoint is very important to get in control before you even start with ERP transformation. But it's also a great opportunity when you have to come through the whole ERP program to kind of maintain your data governance there, because finally you have got all your data in good order. So it's also good to have practices in place to maintain the data quality and that you can really get value out of your data. So here also still the slide kind of summarizing what you can also find in our data governance material to set up really the data governance practices in your organization. Next topic is then the ERP program management itself. We have there several suggestions on how to do it, but I think the main one is that really you should try to set up an organization in the style as we have also used for value streams. So we have here an example of how it could be set up and what are the key roles there. You can see the boxes there below: the transformation preparation, solution development. You can also find the back from this ERP framework, the release and operations and the rollout and business value realization. And then we also highlight the key roles there. So it's really also important to, I think there were some questions beforehand I saw in the registration log, to discuss the responsibility of the business versus IT. And it's very clearly that the business has a very important role in the whole transformation preparation part, but also in the end for the whole rollout and business value realization. That's definitely a responsibility of the business. The whole release and operation is, of course, then the technology operation, and the solution development is then together with your ERP provider and how to do it. So this is one way to look at how an ERP program organization could be set up. The other version of it is more that it's really done as a value stream, and for organizations that are already running value streams, this would be a great way to take control of an ERP transformation program. Imagine if you have already a value stream related to, for example, supply chain management. It would be very logical to connect the program to the portfolio of that value stream and start to run it with that. So then all the governance elements are already in place, and you don't need to start the development while running your whole ERP program. So there is the idea that you have the same roles there which you have in the value stream, and then the actual end-to-end flows where the development or the different streams are developing ERP capabilities. You can manage like that. I have another point of view, and I also urge you to look back at our business technology strategy extension, because there we introduced the minimal viable value creation framework. I like that a lot because that's a very simple way also to start to scale your organization. And it builds up, because this shows the simple version where you have your value streams. So in this level would sit your whole ERP program. And then you have the different development collectives that are planning the demand or crystallizing the demands. They deliver a roadmap, which then the end-to-end development flows implement and put into production. So there are the three elements: the value stream, development collectives, and the end-to-end flows, and then also the roadmap and portfolio and backlog. So that same model you can kind of then scale up to run your ERP implementation. So you also find there the different development collectives. You can have different teams around different topics, creating the roadmap. And typically with ERP programs, you start to talk about the blueprint, so that the development collectives would then really start to own the blueprint. What is really that we want to do? From that follows the roadmaps, and then you can have probably parallel development teams realizing it. And then on top of it, you might have something like a global template to make sure that the configuration is consistent, and also for the rollout management, it's done. So this is also a quite good template, and also to discuss what are the key roles, and also to discuss what is the business role, what does the IT organization do, or what do the solution partners do. So you can also use this as a bit of a discussion there, that who is responsible for what. So then the fourth topic is then the transformation and people engagement. It's probably the most important topic. Of course, ERP programs about technology, and also with the technology, there can be all kinds of issues you need to deal with. But the big thing is, of course, the whole people engagement and to that really everybody understand that why are we making the change, how is it going to be impacted, and what are the results. We have been using or proposing this type of metaphor. So this type of material you can also use to engage your organization, to discuss that what's all going to happen and who should do what. And we use this metaphor of how to get over the brick wall, the gray brick wall, and what are the steps required to get to the nice green fields where everything starts to be rolled out. So they are the major step of how to manage the whole transformation journey. It's really about the red one, about engaging the business leaders, that they really should drive the change. They should be really hands-on part of the design. It's not something they can just outsource to the consultants. They should really own it and be part of the design activities. And then it's the developing the solution, which can go in an iterative fashion or more agile, but in small steps anyway, until you get something that you can start to roll out. Of course, in parallel, you have started that already, but then it's very much about empowering the people and the whole business change. And then you get to the next level. The picture also a bit symbolizes that the different rollouts, the buildings on top of the greenfield, are actually small transformations by themselves. So if you roll out factory by factory or whatever, you basically go through those small steps again. So this is just there is some more detailed material available, but this is quite useful to discuss and come up with a kind of common story on how to go about with your ERP transformation. Another way of looking at it that we have defined is the people engagement, the kind of transformation journey, and highlighting the major milestones there, like release. Nailing down the objectives, what is it that we're going to do, understanding the context, what is going to be the objectives, then okay, who is going to be affected, building the community, the people that are going to lead the change agents, starting to engage people. You can start to already put some KPIs in place. There might be some changes in new capabilities, new competences you need. New people might get new roles, career paths you have to think about. There will be organizational changes probably. The organization has to start learning how to use the system in a new way of working. And then it's of course also kind of continuous coaching and supporting. So those are the main activities, main milestones to take care of, and as the time goes on, the journey continues. You get more and more people on board like this. So in our material, we expand on each of those topics. I show you only one example, like the first one, the objectives. So we list the kind of key questions there, what is important there, and also where appropriate, kind of suggest from our BT Standard extension material stuff, templates you could use to do this. So that's about the people engagement, the transformation journey. One topic still is then the different roles. We have highlighted 5-6 of those roles in more detail on what they do typically in ERP transformation. I'll give you one example. For example, the governance leads on communication and organizational change management is a very important role. This is also kind of presentation to explain what such roles should be doing and what is important and with whom she is working together, and what would be her tools to succeed in this role. So this is one example. I think I had another one here. Yeah, of course, the business owner owning the whole transformation, key position, but also here then kind of suggesting what is the main focus and what tools to use. So this is the framework or the ERP model itself. Lastly, I'm going to show we did together with SAP a bit of a cooperation on how to encapsulate their SAP, the Activate model. They have a whole set implementation methodology. It's publicly available, and it's really comprehensive. There is tremendous amount of information there, but it also goes to show that that type of information might be also very overwhelming. I mean, there is quite a lot there. It's all conceptually correct, but it might be a bit of a challenge to use that information also to engage your organization to explain what is now really, what is it about and what not. So the purpose of this document is also to help more communicating it and making the application of this type of activate implementation methodologies more easy. I show a few examples on what level we have connected to this model. So already the kind of, if you recall the big picture discussion, you can also relate to positioning. What are you going to do with your SAP thing? Are you going for the green field or the brown field? SAP themselves, when we discussed, they also positioned them more in this area, that they're really in the solution implementation, or they talk more about fit to standard, and that their methodology is very much focused around the implementation approach. So it has some elements about the transformation, it's something about the maintenance, it's something about the rollout, but the main focus is about the implementation approach. For those of you who have never seen it, but this is a snapshot of what SAP's Activate model looks like for a specific solution. So in this case, the S/4HANA Cloud 3 system landscape. So it shows the main phases and activities and work streams. So on top of that, you could also kind of a bit using our color coding, the transformation preparation, solution build and rollout and operations, you can find a bit of where those activities focus on. But you can then, we have also been kind of a bit aligning our governance model, how the approval points then relates to what SAP is providing there. So that's also one way to develop common language, because anyhow ERP programs are with a lot of different providers, and it's good to have one governance model that everybody understands what does one milestone mean in the same way. So this is one way also to align that. I showed you this people engagement journey. It also very well fits the phases that SAP is offering. And what I was reading from, for example, Microsoft Dynamics, you find different similar type of phases in the whole transformation journey. So they had to also talk about discover, prepare, explore, realize. So that's also one way to kind of align and to build a common language of what is actually that we're doing. SAP, once again, it's kind of conceptually correct. When I looked into it, they have an Excel table where they define the responsibilities and accountabilities and the consulting, the RACI table. And I noticed they had like 1,500 line items in there. So that also goes to show that it's rather complicated. And this could be also a way to use the BT roles to align with what SAP is providing as roles there. And once again, to develop a bit common language there. The last example is that, for example, SAP is also providing quite standardized ways of collecting requirements. So very nice. They have some kind of business-driven configuration questionnaires. So just fill in the questionnaire and the system is more or less created automatically. But it's still very important that the business people who do need to answer such a questionnaire are really understanding the context when they start to answer that. So we have in the BT Standard this human-centered planning. We propose as a way to capture demand in a more holistic way. And using that type of methodologies will also prepare an organization far better to use this type of configuration questionnaires. So Lotta, this was a very quick overview of what this extension entails.
Yes, indeed. Now, a brief one, but not a simple one. So there is a much more underneath everything that you were sharing here, Menno, and important points about engaging leaders from the beginning of an ERP program and in general related to the people engagement. But all this material, like I said, it has now become available for preview, and it is more extensive than what we maybe walked through here together. But maybe at this point we could address some of the questions that we received from the participants before this webinar. So maybe if I take over the share, Menno.
Sure.
And let's go here. So here we have collected some of the questions that you had shared that interested you in particular. So how to build organizational maturity during ERP implementation. How could we elaborate on this, Menno?
Yeah, I tried to answer them in a few bullet lines, but this was definitely what I was showing, this inverted S-curve, this people engagement journey. Following that is definitely one way to help building the maturity. So being aware and of the steps, and also taking more people on board during the whole journey.
Yeah, and I wonder if the person asking this means the organizational maturity from which viewpoint, because that can of course be thought of in a different way, like their change capacity or IT maturity or something other.
But it's definitely already from the ERP a lot of demonstrations and showing how the system works and really explaining. I mean, that's also one way to build a maturity and talk also with other organizations having done something similar.
Yes.
All right.
Then you did touch the governance structure a little bit there. Do you want to elaborate that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. Our suggestion is really to use something similar, if not exactly this value stream setup. I think that will help you to get the right governance structure in place. So it goes back to this business technology standard. We have this minimal viable governance model. We have the enterprise level, then we have the value stream, and then we have the end-to-end implementation flows or development flows. So the ERP transformation sits there on the value stream level. And that would be our suggestion on how to govern a complex ERP solution. I just added there the word also teamwork, because still it's about building the right teams there and getting close cooperation with your partners and all the people involved there. That's still a key solution as well there.
But then where this extension supports is identifying what are the roles and how to maybe structure that governance. So that is also information that you can find in this industry adaptation documentation.
It's in the end-to-end development governance material. And like I said, we had the previous seminar about value streams, so I think that's also worth looking into and see how that applies to you.
Yeah, that was a successful webinar, and it turned out, since we had swapped the places of these webinars. So previously we were supposed to have the ERP webinar first and the value stream webinar last. But since we changed that order, so then unfortunately there was one linkage that had gone wrong in the process of swapping those. So that's why we had a bit of struggle to get people here to the right webinar this time, even though last time it went well. Then how BT Standard ERP Implementation extension can be and has been put into practice. Well, here it has been reviewed by several CIOs and program directors, and how to then approach putting it into practice.
Yeah, it's just released. So in that regard, we are going to put it into practice, and of course we have been talking with different organizations, and So it's now up to up to the implementation partners, of course, to start to use this model. And for example, at Sovicate, we have already been organizing trainings around this adaptation, and surely it's being used as we speak. And then also I want to stress that really it requires that this is built on top of the BT operating model. So that's a very solid foundation for any kind of business transformation, because it becomes very, very complicated if you start a business transformation and then on the way you figure out that actually the governance structures are not in place, and you have to start to do both. So making the transformation and also starting to discuss in the organization who is actually owning what and how to govern it. So it's also very much a suggestion to have that type of operating models in place before you start with an ERP or with a large business transformation. And it's also,
yes, and a bit, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's also that, like I said, that the ERP providers, they have very comprehensive methodologies and conceptually correct, and it's very good material and definitely something to use, but it might be a bit of an overload at the beginning. So this is also an attempt to encapsulate and to give some more reading guidelines to start to benefit from that type of information as well.
And then there is a question about the BT approach to a new ERP program, and here we suggest that you really discuss the big picture and that you use this framework as a guideline. And maybe what Menno also you mentioned during your presentation about the importance of data, for example, that is something that cannot be overlooked. So that really needs to be taken into consideration, and sometimes it might mean that you need to break a little bit before you start doing something else, before you have a hold on the data and data governance, as that is really an important enabler for a successful ERP implementation. And of course, ITSM should be.
Yeah, it was, I'm not sure what the question was, but yeah, it's definitely the service management is essential, and it should be from the beginning involved. The service owner, service manager should be there. Of course, from the beginning, you already start to think on how to run the thing, how to phase out old systems, etc. So that should be really there, not an afterthought.
Then there were still a few questions more regarding the process and the roadmap.
Yeah, I don't know what the question exactly was, but I took the process just as part of the business processes. So I think it's still in general good in ERP if you get the business helping to do the design, that you stay on a bit still abstract level, like business capabilities, and only go deeper with the solution provider if you really want to start to define the business processes and the actual transactions. So I'm not sure if that's what was the person asking, but this way. And the other thing is that the roadmap is definitely essential. So, and that's also what I showed in this minimal value creation framework, where the roadmap is really an essential element to communicate.
And maybe also to the roadmap, having different perspectives of the roadmap, like the perspective that serves the project team or the program team, for example, might not be the same one that you need for communicating with the end users or with leadership, that you really need to take into consideration what is the level of information that is needed in each case.
Yeah. True.
And yeah, related to the integration alternatives, this material does not go into the technical aspects, but does address then the data governance and topics related to that. Yeah,
I have my own experience that this is a big topic always. And for example, like this bill of material creation, that's especially in the industry, manufacturing industry, a big issue always, that who owns it and what is the product lifecycle management system versus the ERP and how are we going to integrate it. There are huge topics, but it's important indeed that then, like with data governance, you start then also to discuss indeed about ownership, and that might also help you to get this type of topics designed properly.
And how does an ERP program, I suppose that it's meant the ERP program here, but how does it differ from other digital transformation programs? So how does an ERP program differ then?
Yeah, I think it's still that an ERP program is still it's the major transaction engine in an organization. So if that gets replaced or doesn't work, you can't send out your invoices or there are mistakes there, or your inventory management is doesn't run correctly. It can have very, very negative effects on your bottom line. Any other digital transformation, sure, there can be also risks involved, but they might be more credible or adding on features, or they're the big risk with another digital transformation might be more on how to really make people use it. But an ERP program has really also the chance to really disrupt the business if it's not done correctly. So I guess that's why we made this a bit of a special topic.
Absolutely. And then what about then managing the IT versus business scope responsibility? Well, we talk about business technology, but what about the roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's indeed also this material can also help to have the dialogue in your organization, that who owns what, and to really motivate the business to really own the design, and also be responsible for the value creation and the rollout activities. I have still one example on that. There was already in the ERP program, if you recall, there was some definitions on who owns what.
Was it this one?
Yeah, this one we have in the. You can find it back in the material, and it's also part of the strategy material. But this is a kind of the overall canvas from left to right on how you go from demands to the actual service consumption of the whole solution. I'm not now going into detail, but you have a look at it, because you can find all the elements there. And if you take the next slide, you can kind of start to put on top or start to discuss that who is responsible for what. So you can really say, okay, business is taking the transformation preparation parts. Some design partner can help with it. The program or the IT is responsible for the solution development. You have some on the ORATS part, you have some support partner for the for running the thing, etc. So you can use this as a canvas also to discuss responsibilities, and at the end there, the business again responsible for the rollout and the value realization activities. So that's one way to agree or discuss with your organization on who does what.
Good. And then here is almost where we conclude today, and this is also this ERP implementation master plan checklist is included in the material. And maybe still before we close the line, I might show you where you can find that content. So just a second, I will change the share. And now I will show. So this is then the main page of the Business Technology Standard. And then when you navigate to the right-hand side, you can find the links to all the content that we share. And this is the latest one, then this Business Technology Standard extensions. And when you click that one open, you can first find all the extensions. So they are previews. You see all the content there as a video, and you can pause it so that when you spot something relevant and interesting for you, you can kind of stay with the information and read it through. Mm-hmm. And then on the bottom here, you can also find the industry adaptations and the ERP implementation that we were looking into today. So this is then where we can find all that information available.
Lotta, I see we have still one question in the chat.
Yes, so can we use this for a CRM implementation, or is there another approach?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And on the other hand, I just announced that we would be in August, September announcing some new industry adaptation, where we more talk about Salesforce, ServiceNow type of applications, because we consider them a bit more low-code, no-code type of implementations where the approach could be a bit different. But it depends, of course, if you do a very large-scale CRM program with a lot of stakeholders and a lot of rollout activities, then I think this applies very well as well. But if the CRM activity is more kind of a bit gradual, continuous development based on an existing platform, then perhaps you have to wait for September when we launched the new industry adaptation focused access, especially at Salesforce, ServiceNow type of applications.
Good. That was our final question today, and thank you, Menno, so much for presenting, and in particular to all our participants today. Thank you for patience and understanding, and again, excuse us for the faulty link. We will share this recording also on our website. So if you have a colleague or a friend who was trying to join but didn't make it, then that can be found there tomorrow. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the sunny summer week.
Thank you. Goodbye.